Time for business, and here Alphonse Van Cat will has swiftly changed positions. Markets, of course, they're the crucial thing at the moment, really. What are they doing?
Well, the European markets, of course, just opening up. They're not reacting well so far, to be honest with you. Of course, they are reacting to that news from the Federal Reserve in the US. Operation Twist continues. That was a move to keep interest rates low in the US economy, but there's no further stimulus from the Federal Reserve. And also there's been some bad news from China, which is perhaps affecting things. Managing PMI index from HSBC has said that China is in for a slowdown in the manufacturing sector. So you can see that that's had a bit of an effect on Asia as well.
To Greece, back at the top of the agenda today, we've got European finance ministers meeting in Luxembourg.
Yeah, and like you were saying earlier, of course, if there was ever a honeymoon for this new administration of Antonis Samaras, well, it's over before it's even begun. It's clear that Greece is going to miss its targets by a country mile. And of course, there's going to be a blunt choice about this. Either Greece gets longer to meet its targets, or should it make further cuts to meet those targets? The EU, of course, is divided between those who want to be more lenient, including France, and hardliners, including Germany, Netherlands and Finland.
OK, and Spain also on that to-do list. We were laughing earlier on about the EU fridge sitting there with its to-do list, and seeing Greece number 1, Spain number 2.
That's right, yeah. It's still very much on the to-do list. Anti-austerity protests, of course, have been taking place in Madrid on Wednesday. Today, they are going to officially request that €100 billion bailout for their banks. And the country's finance minister has been at pains to point out that the bailout is for the banks and not for the government itself. And well, those denials did rather remind me of something that's been doing the rounds on social networks in the last couple of days, because let's take a look at this. This was put together by a guy called Alex Bradbury of Hamilton Capital, and it's a list of those denials and negations from Eurozone leaders over the last year or two, starting off with Spain is not Greece, is the quote there, then Portugal is not Greece, Greece is not Ireland. Of course, most of these countries, apart from Spain, have all ended up with bailout so far, ending up with that comment from the Spanish Prime Minister, Spain is not Uganda, of course, and Uganda does not want to be Spain, which we heard the other day from the Ugandans. If you want to have a look at that whole list again, do follow me on Twitter, @WillEdwards.
Fantastic, I love it, very good. Well, nice graphic as well, nicely put together. Meanwhile, we've got some reports in the French press. This is pointing to cuts on the horizon.
Yeah, so far the new French President, François Hollande, he's been very quiet as to what cuts are going to be made. He's been going on about tax rises, which are going to pay for things in the French economy, but he is going to need to make cuts as well if he's going to stick to his deficit commitments. So Le Figaro, the French newspaper, claims it knows what's coming. It says it foresees a 2.5% reduction in staff each year over 3 years in government ministries, except for education, justice and the interior ministry. Now, François Hollande himself has said that this doesn't sound plausible on the sidelines of the Rio +20 summit where he's at the moment, but there are going to have to be some cuts eventually, so we will have to watch this space.
OK, now staying in France, a new report shows that France has fallen behind Germany when it comes to attracting foreign investment. We're going to have a look now at why France perhaps is falling behind as Germany surges forwards.
Is France attractive for foreign companies? Not so much, according to the latest investment figures. Among European countries, Britain remains the top investment destination for foreign firms, and France has now fallen behind Germany into third place. In 2011, France saw 540 foreign projects set up, 4% fewer than the previous year. One of the reasons is increased competition from Germany. The country has implemented structural reforms in the past decade and has emerged as a more attractive place for foreign investors. Above all, it has managed to reduce labour costs. Companies can expect to pay less than €28 per hour to use a German worker, while a French worker costs a lot more, at over €33 per hour. France's notorious administrative red tape and judicial instability aren't helping either.
They give some tax benefits to businesses, and then 2 years later the policy changes. Foreign firms decide to invest based on these advantages, but they later find out they can no longer enjoy the same benefits.
France still remains the top European destination for manufacturing firms, thanks to its strength in aerospace, biotechnology and other fields.
Got a few other business stories for you now, and as uncertainty continues over the result of Egypt's presidential election, the country's currency has fallen to a 7-year low. The Egyptian pound was at 6.049 to the dollar at its low point on Wednesday before strengthening slightly in late trading.
Apple has been ordered to pay damages to Samsung by a court in the Netherlands over a patent dispute. The court said Apple had infringed a patent governing how phones and tablets connect to the internet. The result is the latest in a string of such disputes between the two companies.
And electronics retailer Kaiser has announced a 42% fall in profits as customers put off purchases of white goods. It also took a loss from the sale of its struggling UK arm Comet. The company announced it's going to change its name to Darty after its market-leading French brand. And finally for you, Adidas. They made a bit of a fashion faux pas, is this?
Yes, it rather has. Let's just take a look at some shoes that were briefly put on the market by Adidas.
Yeah.
They've been pulled off, not because they're clearly quite horrible, actually, I have to say, but because they actually evoke slavery, according to some people in the US.
Can we see them? The shoes? There they are.
There they are. You can see the chains. You see, these are referred to as shackles by campaigners in the US. The Reverend Jesse Jackson is among those who's criticised them. They're designed by a guy called Jeremy Scott. He said that actually his inspiration was based on a children's toy rather than on the idea of slavery. And actually, they were announced a few months ago. It was only when the picture went up on Facebook that the outcry came along. Now, they do remind me as well of a Nike pair of shoes called Black and Tans, which were released a few months ago and then withdrawn amid outcry because, of course, Black and Tans were a British paramilitary group used in the Republic of Ireland in the Troubles, and obviously that was a very offensive name to some people. Sure. So fashion faux pas on several fronts, trainers, a continuing theme, it seems.
It'd be all right if you were wearing long trousers.
Because
you wouldn't see the top bit, would
I'm
you?
not sure you'd still be able to see the bottom bit there, and I'm not so keen on that either.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. In fact, perhaps that's even more important than the chains. Will, thank you very much. Will Evers with the business here on France 24. Latest news coming up with Claire after the break. Stay with us.